Well, good morning, good morning. And I want to be thankful to the weather gods and goddesses and that we're here and there isn't any wind and it's not as frigid as we anticipated. So I want to thank you for coming today to the ribbon cutting ceremonies and our public celebration of this remarkable achievement. And I'm Jan Baptist, the chair of the Alma Del Mar Board of Trustees. And I want to say on behalf of our board, our volunteer board, I want to thank you for being here this morning. And I want to acknowledge all of the contributions you've made over the years to the success of Alma and our scholars. So thank you. There'll be more thank yous as we go along, but I felt that I wanted to do that from my heart. So welcome to the Frederick Douglass campus, the new home of nearly 600 Alma scholars and Alma staff, and let's begin the program. So we had Lee Blake has been the person who was going to do sort of a keynote and a really great welcome and give us the background of the Frederick Douglass campus and why we named it, but Lee is ailing this morning and wasn't able to come. So she has sent a representative, someone who she called on in the last minute, and he just was very gracious to step in. So I want to introduce to you Bob French, an old friend of mine and someone who works is on the board of the New Bedford Historical Society. He's also the retired director of North Star Learning, and he also is serving on this really other great board, Groundworks South Coast. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Bob to come to the mic and give you his remarks. And thank you for coming again.
On behalf of the New Bedford Historical Society, I want to thank you for naming your new campus after Frederick Douglass. We at the Historical Society resisted having his name associated with a basketball court. After all, he didn't play basketball to our knowledge. But his school is so appropriate. You could say long overdue in New Bedford, where he lived his first years as a free man. Frederick Douglass was many things. Importantly, he was a scholar. That's why in our new Abolition Row Park near the downtown, the statue will depict not the giant he became that the image we're so familiar with, but a young man reading a book. May he continue to inspire legions of the young scholars within these walls and beyond. Thank you.
So thank you, Bob, for those remarks. And I think everyone appreciates the great contribution to New Bedford and the community and the recognition of Frederick Douglass as one of our own. So now our next speaker, I'm happy to introduce, I have the privilege of introducing. Our next speaker is the founding principal of this gleaming new incredible campus, Principal Taylor Deloach. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her and then invite her to the mic. She has served Alma since 2014, first as a first grade teacher, and then she stepped into leadership as an academic dean and a dean of culture. We are very grateful and thankful for her dedication to Alma's mission and her strong leadership, first in temporary spaces at Immaculate Conception, and then on Zoom and Google Classroom when we were forced to pivot. Alma did a wonderful job with that under the leadership of Taylor and other staff and leadership. And now in this beautiful building, she'll bring her leadership, talent, and skill, and passion, and love of Alma scholars and our mission. So I'd like to introduce Taylor, and will you come to the mic and share your remarks?
Thank you, everyone. My name is Taylor Deloach. I'm the principal here at the illustrious Frederick Douglass campus. Thank you all for being here today to celebrate the opening of our new and beautiful building. We're thrilled to be able to share this moment with all of you after years of waiting for this moment. Back when we opened in August 2019, this building was just a glimmer on a very distant horizon. We were excited at what the future held for us, but we were more excited and a little nervous about founding our brand new school at the Immaculate Conception site. At the time, we had just about 30 staff members and only about 200 scholars. We have very fond memories of these days because that was a time where members of our community, scholars, staff, and families were able to share one space. For 6 months, we saw our youngest scholars learning to read and write. We saw our sixth graders develop independence and reach new academic heights every day, and we were able to celebrate our successes together. All the while, though, this glimmer on the horizon was shining a little bit brighter every day. Then, in March 2020, we made an unanticipated move to a new temporary space, the virtual learning world. By the time it was safe for us to all return in person 18 months later, we had over twice as many staff members and about 500 scholars who are in this building right now. This also meant that we didn't just return to one building or two buildings, but we were then in 3 temporary sites: the Immaculate Conception site, the Fisher College site, and the Christian Fellowship Center site. These buildings served us very well, and we were very fortunate to have the space to safely serve all of our scholars, despite what was going on with the pandemic. We have fond memories of this time, too. There was learning, there was joy, and above all, we were finally able to be back in person together once again. And on top of that, our move-in date to this building was finally within reach. Our permanent building became a beacon of the best kind, shining bright, giving us hope, and leading us home. And now, here we are. On January 10th of this year, we finally opened our doors to our new home, 767 Church Street, our new Frederick Douglass campus, affectionately nicknamed the Douglass Mansion by a few of our staff members. As you walk through the halls on your tours, you might get the feeling that we've been here for longer than just 3 short weeks. That's because there's so much learning happening already. You might see our first graders practicing their sight words, or our third graders singing their multiplication facts songs, or our seventh graders doing a dramatic reading of A Raisin in the Sun. Our staff have worked tirelessly to create the conditions for scholar success in this building, and I'm excited for you all to see the fruits of their labor. I cannot understate the efforts that they have made since our founding to give our scholars the best schooling experience possible, and I'm eternally grateful for them. In the same token, we give great thanks to all of you who have contributed to the construction of this space. From our supporters who advocated and fundraised for us, to the architects, to the construction team who built this magnificent building from the ground up. Every day, our scholars and staff rave about how beautiful this space is and how lucky we are to learn in it. Just yesterday, one of our second grade scholars remarked, "I know how to spell the word broke because in the cafeteria, it says, it's easier to raise strong children than to repair broken men." Every square inch of this building directly supports us in the mission we strive toward every day, to put all of our scholars on the path to the high school of their choice, to college, and beyond. So now that we're here, there are new glimmers on the horizon. Our first 8th grade class graduates this June. Next year, we will serve almost 600 scholars. And now we can dream bigger than we ever have before for what's possible for this community. The best part is that our Frederick Douglass campus community finally has our permanent home where we can realize all of these dreams together. And now we will hear from a founding 6th grade scholar and the winner of the 2021 Frederick Douglass Speaking Competition, Angeli Lopez.
Hello, my name is Angeli Lopez. It is an honor to be able to attend this new building, and more importantly, an honor to be a scholar in its first 8th grade class. There was a lot of hard work put into this wonderful structure, which we can now use as a place to learn and grow as people. The scholars of Alma Del Mar have been awaiting the completion of this building for a long time, and it is so exciting that it is now open. Today, we are gathered here to finally open this building for use, after awaiting it for a long time. We hope that this new building will finally provide the resources needed for learning. And we can hope that this building will shape our learning positively and will make it easier to learn with no distractions. I also hope that future generations make good use of this building, and I hope they will be grateful to be able to utilize such a wonderful space. As we honor Frederick Douglass with this school, we want to also recognize the woman who helped Douglass to freedom and then dedicated her life to supporting his career. His wife, Anna Murray Douglass. The following is an excerpt from My Mother as I Recall Her, a narrative by their daughter, Rosetta Douglass Sprague. Looking backward over a space of 50 years or more, I have in remembrance two travelers whose lives were real in their activity. Two lives that have indelibly impressed themselves upon my memory. Two lives whose energy and best ability was exerted to make my life what it should be, and who gave me a home where wisdom and industry went hand in hand, where instruction was given that a cultivated brain and an industrious hand were the twin conditions that led to a well-balanced and useful life. These two lives were embodied in the personalities of Frederick Douglass and Anna Murray, his wife. They met at the base of mountain of wrong and oppression, victims of the slave power as it existed over 60 years ago. One smarting under the manifold hardships as a slave, the other in many ways suffering from the effects of such a system. The story of Frederick Douglass's hopes and aspirations and longing for desire for freedom has been told. You all know it. It was a story made possible by the unswerving loyalty of Anna Murray, to whose memory this paper is written. Anna Murray was born in Denton, Caroline County, Maryland, an adjoining county to that in which my father was born. The exact date of her birth is not known. Her parents, Bambara Murray and Mary, his wife, were slaves. Their family consisting of 12 children, 7 of whom were born ill slavery and 5 born in freedom. My mother, the 8th child, escaped by the short period of 1 month, the fate of her older brothers and sisters, and was the first free child. Remaining with her parents until she was 17, she felt it time that she should be entirely self-supporting, and with that idea, she left her country home and went to Baltimore. Sought employment in a French family by the name of Montel, whom she served 2 years. On leaving the Montels, she served in a family by the name of Wells, living on S. Caroline Street. Wells was postmaster at the time of my father's escape from slavery. The free people of Baltimore had their own circles from which the slaves were excluded. The ruling of them out of their society resulted more from the desire of the slaveholder than from any great wish of the free people themselves. If a slave would dare to hazard all danger and enter among the free people, he would be received. To such a little circle of free people, a circle a little more exclusive than others, Frederick Bailey was welcomed. Anna Murray, to whom he had given his heart, sympathized with him, and she devoted all her energies to assist him. The 3 weeks prior to the escape were busy and anxious weeks for Anna Murray. She had lived with the Wells family so long, and having been able to save the greater part of her earnings, was willing to share with the man she loved that he might gain the freedom he yearned to possess. Her courage, her sympathy at the start was the mainspring that supported the career of Frederick Douglass. Thank you.
All right, awesome job, Angeli. Tough act to follow. Oh. All right, good morning. I am Will Gardner. I am founder and executive director here at Alma Del Mar. And wow, thank you so much for sharing that history. And it means so much more coming from such a brilliant young leader like yourself. So thank you, Angeli. And thank you as well to to Jan and to Bob. And Bob, thank you so much for coming at the last moment and standing in for Lee. We really appreciate having your presence and Lee along with you. And thank you, Taylor, for sharing as well and for all the work that you've done to bring this crew to where it is now, to its new home. So Frederick Douglass's mission was to share his own story. And it wasn't out of kind of ego or vanity. It was really to affirm and vividly remind us of everyone's right, both to freedom and to self-determination. And we're here not just because of a building, we're here to pay tribute to that ongoing mission. And it's not just with this beautiful space, but it's also in support of the incredible work that's going on in this building, even just right now. And just a moment ago, a few of us were just walking through, taking a tour before the festivities started, and we walked into a kindergarten classroom. And the kindergartners were working on their letter sounds, and they were having a contest where they went up to the board and they were competing to put together words and pronounce words for their team. And there was one little girl, and she came up, and what was I think the word was yam. And she put together yam. She found the picture, and everybody was celebrating that she had got this. And on the way back to her seat, she did like this swagger, like she just owned the place. It was so I can't imitate it because they're filming. But all of us were just dying, trying not to crack up. And it was just such a beautiful moment to see. And I share that long-winded anecdote to say moments like that are happening right now all over this building. And I think especially now, as we come through this pandemic, those are moments that we do not and that we cannot take for granted, because those moments represent that ongoing mission, right? That ongoing mission of self-determination. And our vision is that every scholar can write their own really powerful stories. And with their words and with their thoughts and their ideas, they're going to write those stories not only here, but as they leave here across the world as citizens and as leaders. And our mission states that we want our scholars to be service-minded leaders. And we want them to be people who not only are gaining in their own education so that they can be successful in their own lives, but people who are going to contribute and lift up those around them, lift up their community around them as they move forward. And speaking of service-minded leaders, I have the important job and the important honor of acknowledging a few of those leaders here today, without whom this beautiful building would never have come to be. And I apologize in advance. I'm going to miss people because there are so many people who have made this happen. But first and foremost, we have a list of people who gave their time, gave their wealth to make this place happen. So I'm not going to list out all the names. There's too many to list right here. But please come by and recognize those folks. A big shout out to both Jan and the entire board of trustees who are not paid. They are volunteer board members, but they put in a lot of work every week on the governance of this school, making sure that Alma can run successfully. Let me see, we've got some elected officials here today. Councilor Ian Abreu. Ian, where you at? All right, Ian Abreu's here. Thank you for being here. Is Brad here? Brad Markey's here. Thank you for coming. They've both been huge supporters and helped us make this happen. Brad was especially helpful in bringing together the community, making sure that we're doing right by our neighbors, even as we're developing this really large site. Let me see, Laura Douglas is here. All right. Thank you for coming. Laura's president of BCC. She's just done so much for education regionally, not only higher education, but K through 12 and and really developing that educational pipeline in this region. So thank you for coming. Steve Furtado is here from Global Learning. Thanks, Steve, for being here. Lynn Point, you guys are next. Can't wait to just be a spectator at your ribbon cutting. Looking forward to it. I also see Fitz is here. Fitz Lamar is here. Fitz is a talented local artist. I won't spoil it, but you are going to see some really great work by Fitz. So I'm glad that you are here for this moment. I want to give a big thanks to Jeff Pontiff and Pontiff Real Estate for putting together a really complex real estate deal to find this site. It was a locked site. There was no access to this. And through some real genius, Jeff helped put together this site in such a way that we could access it. Jay Peabody from Partridge Snow and Hahn did all of our legal work. Let me see, Mark Wanser from Equitable Facilities Fund, unfortunately because of COVID, wasn't able to make it, but they supplied all of the debt, all of the funding. Affirmative Investments, Dave Schultz, put together the full financial package, was a real wizard, and was always patient with me when I'd say, just explain this to me like I'm 5 years old every single week. Let me see, we've got Arrow Street doing the design, so Larry Spang, principal. Thank you all for your incredible work. I see Dan's there, Molly's there, and what an incredible team. And I think, Arrow Street did such an excellent job of working with us, figuring out exactly how we work, what our teachers needed, what was important to us, but then also putting together something that's both beautiful and was also on time and under budget. Music, music to my ears, so thank you. And along with that, they had some help from the incredible people at Delbrook and J.K. Scanlon, who constructed this building, and a special shout out to Greg Inman, the senior project manager there, and Jerry and Carolyn. All right, our dynamic duo who really made this place happen. And we were fortunate to have the same construction team for this building that we had with our Ottawell building. So when they got together, they hit the ground running and they really knew what they were doing. And talk about navigating a lot of challenges. Try building a building during a pandemic with all sorts of supply chain craziness. So what an incredible professional team. And Compass Project Management, so Dom Tabiri and Chin's here as well. Thank you so much for your hard work. They were our quarterback for this whole thing. I don't know how to build buildings. We're educational folks. And Dom was the one who kept all the trains running on time, coordinated our whole team. I learned so much about leadership from you and how to stay cool. I brought in some volunteers to try to rattle you, and it didn't work. And I learned also how to run a really tight meeting from you, and learned a lot about what project management can really be. It's just incredible what you do. So thank you. Let me see, we got a couple more people that I have to mention even though they're not here. So John Camera and Ed Haddad were volunteer members of our construction committee, both retired developers, both pretty much worked full-time doing this, and through that process formed a real friendship, and I think had a lot of fun as well, even if they were sometimes driving Dom and the rest of the crew crazy on our behalf. So special thanks to them. When they come back up north, we'll have a special ceremony for them as well. So those are my thanks for now, and thank you to the rest of you as well for being here. And before we go, had a couple special recognitions. We have two members of our team who this is their last project. This is their last hurrah. So we wanted to have Dom, and we also wanted to have Jerry. I wanted to have you guys come up because they're both retiring, supposedly. I don't know if we're going to keep them in retirement, but they're supposedly both retiring. Yeah, come on up. We have something special for you. Are we hiding it? Okay. So congratulations to you both on your retirement.
Thank you. Thank you.
Don't be strangers. You can come drink coffee in the community room. Nice. Excellent. All right, and so with that, in just a moment, we're going to watch as Principal Deloach and Angeli and our crew here cut the ribbon for the opening of their new school. And afterwards, please stick around. Make sure you have a name tag, because on your name tag there is a color, and that color will be held up by one of our scholar leader tour guides. So after the ribbon cutting, look for your color, get together with your group, and you will be taken on the tour of the building. And at that point also, if you haven't had hot chocolate or coffee, please grab some at the back. So now I think I've covered what I've needed to cover. Becca, we good? All right. I think we can do the thing where we cut the ribbon now. All right. Oh, man. And Jan tells me, and she's correct, that I should also definitely thank the development committee and of course Becca and her dedicated volunteer crew who put this all together. So thank you to all of you. All right.
Did you know that you can watch any of New Bedford Cable Network shows anytime, anywhere on all of your mobile devices? How, you may ask? Just log on to nbcablenetwork.com and bam! You have all 3 channels at your fingertips: public, educational, and government access. Here, you can view our program schedules, watch our channel's live broadcasts, or search for a particular program in our vast library of shows. Last year alone, New Bedford Cable Network produced over 500 shows, and nearly all of them are available online at nbcablenetwork.com. Not only can you stay up to date with what's happening in your local government and schools, but also dive into some of New Bedford Cable Network's original award-winning programs. So check us out at nbcablenetwork.com.